Hello and welcome to Women Empowerment Edition Impact for Change. The purpose of the podcast is to provide the space for women to share their stories in an inspiring way to help impact and inspire other women. Now, today's guest is a spiritual dating coach that is committed to helping women to spiritually awaken, grow, and shift their personal energy to become absolutely magnet to their dream partner. Please help me welcome the amazing, amazing coach, Jennifer. Jennifer, how are you?
Hi, Hoeda. I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me today.
Thank you so much for accepting me on my podcast. It's really, really a pleasure.
Yeah.
Amazing. So, Jennifer, every person, every guest that comes here, I normally ask, for the listeners basically to tell a little bit about themselves and what they do.
Okay. Well, I am from Ohio, the state of Ohio.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I live there with my three cats and my husband. And
Wow.
I am a former IT person. So I worked in the corporate world. I was a developer, IT developer for a while, and
Wow.
then I was a analyst for a little bit. And none of that was really sitting well with me. I felt like there was just something more that I should be doing. Uh,
Mm,
so while I was still working there, I went on kind of a little journey. So I was like exploring all kinds of different ways that I could maybe make a difference in the world, especially through healing. So I became a yoga instructor first.
ooh,
I was drawn to yoga, and that taught me a lot about how energy works,
mm,
how to really get myself quiet in order to be able to hear guidance. So that helped me to get into like more meditation. So that was a good doorway kind of entry level into that. And then I learned Reiki. So I was level two Reiki
oh,
certified.
wow.
I played around with that for a little bit. And that taught me even more about energy and more about the unseen around us. And that was well and good. I wanted more. So I took another energy healing certification.
Mm,
And that was great too. But it felt like I didn't really have a lot of talent around that, I suppose. Like I can do it, but
mm,
I saw other people doing it quote unquote better, right? They had a lot more they were able to sense the energy and all of that kind of stuff. And I just really wasn't quite attuned to that. So I'm like, there has to be something else for me. And then I went on to study with a local shaman here in Cincinnati, real shaman. So what I mean by that is someone that hasn't just taken a course by someone claiming to be a shaman, and then now all of a sudden they're calling themselves a shaman. Like a shaman is someone who is actually called by the spirits
mm,
and taught by the spirits. So they're not certified. We'll just put it there. So he's the real deal. And
mm,
I learned way more about the unseen around us, about spirits,
mm.
how to work with them, um, how to heal ourselves, or myself, and how I could help other people to heal as well. So that really opened the door wide for me to, step into that healer persona. While I am not called by the spirits to be a shaman, so I
Mhm.
don't call myself that, I don't use that. However, I do use a lot of the principles that I learned from
Mm,
my mentor, and I apply those into my work when I work with people one-on-one. So all of that to say, the whole reason I went on that journey was because I was really, really frustrated with my dating from about age 15
mm,
to age 36. And it's a common thing that I know a lot of women struggle with, especially dating those emotionally unavailable people. Um,
mm,
and at the time, I didn't know why that was happening.
mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize just how much I was giving my power away. And I was
Um,
doing that by thinking that there just wasn't anyone available, that
oh,
all of the people out there were just, all the guys I was meeting were just indicative of there not being any good ones left.
oh my God. That's exactly what I think. That's what I did. You hit the nerve. That's exactly what I think,
Yeah.
like for the past couple of years.
Hmm.
Because me and you, we spoke about this, isn't it? We spoke about this, and we spoke like how dating and how like the energy. I'm thinking like this. Like my mind thing is like, there is nobody there is
Right.
good enough. You know what I mean? It's wow.
Yeah. And you're not alone in that. Like almost everyone that I've come across has had that thought, and like I said, including myself. But think about how disempowering that is, right? Because when you think that, you're
Mm-hmm.
basically saying there's nothing you can do, right? That it's all up to chance and that,
Yeah.
the people that you meet are just all going to be awful. So I'm just going to take the only control that I know that I can, which is I'm just going to stop dating. And that's what a lot of people do. And that's what I almost did. So I got really, really fed up with the same results over and over again. And it's hard to heal continuously after every one of these relationships. And it really starts to have an effect on your heart, right? You start to want to close down your heart. You start to want to be really suspicious of everyone that comes in, and you're like, "Yep, I'm not going to open up to anyone until he proves himself worthy."
Guilty as is charged, Jen. Guilty as is charged.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But
Oh.
unfortunately, what that does,
Hmm.
it messes with our energy, right? So
Uh,
in order to manifest anything in your life, right? You have to know that what you want is out there and available,
hmm.
right? And you also have to act like you already have it. You have to feel like you already have that thing, which means you have to be open. You have to be grateful for what comes in to your life. So I'm kind of getting ahead of myself here, but
No.
all of those things I didn't understand back in the day, and it was
Mm.
really, really depressing.
that's that's what I'm living actually what I'm living at the moment, Jen. Like you hit the core, of the problem, and it's so common for
Mhm.
young girls, to think like that. Even adult, old women, they think like that as well. Especially if they come across, they got hurt a lot by people, that they
Mhm.
used to date, or they used to say engaged, party
Yeah.
me. So how you help these women
Mhm.
to awaken their inner spirituality, to be open, because that's really, really I want to know, because it's
Yeah.
really, really interesting, Jen.
Yeah. So it is all about living from the inside out instead
Mm-hmm,
of outside in. So when
mm-hmm,
you think that there is no available good men out there,
mm-hmm,
what you're doing is you're living outside in. You're using the circumstances from in the outside world to dictate your thoughts and how you feel,
mm-hmm,
rather than living from the inside out, where you get really attuned to what it is that you want and you believe it 100%. And then you start to operate out into the world that way. That will bring to you what it is that you want, right? Whenever you focus on what you want, or whatever you focus on basically is what you're going to bring into your life. So if you're always focusing on, well, I'm just going to meet the wrong ones, or you're always focusing on, I'm just going to look out for red flags, and then you're always putting your awareness on what you don't want, and that will bring it to you.
Wow. So basically, working from inside out,
Yeah.
tuning to myself, and just imagine and vision what I want in a partner,
Yes.
and then it will manifest. Oh, Jim, that would take me like a lot of time. That would take me a lot of time, especially because thinking about, especially when people have a bad experience.
Yeah.
When somebody have a bad experiences, toward like dating or marriage, or even they're like engagement, they're like engaged, it is challenging for them to
Mhm.
even believe that.
Yeah.
What you say is absolutely amazing, and that what makes me interested, because
Ah.
it is a really hard core for me, especially because at this point of my life, I just said me, myself, and my career. That's all. I don't even have a cat. Too bad. So that's that, because that my mindset, and I'm sure so many girls and so many women out there, they're gonna have the question is how to navigate through our spiritual,
Mhm.
our insight, to be able to take that like bad experience it and replace it with what we want, and what we believe, and say what we can envision for
Mhm.
the future, what like in our partner.
Yeah. So first of all, when you are hurt, right? Most of us make that mean something about us, about yourself,
Mhm.
right?
Sorry.
So if someone breaks up with you or was mean to you, or something like that, where it didn't work out, a lot of the times what we do is we take that on. We take that responsibility. We make it mean like, oh, well, maybe I wasn't something enough. I wasn't pretty enough. I wasn't, good enough to him, or, we make it mean that we messed up, or there was something inherently wrong with us
Mm,
that caused this thing to happen. So that's the first step, is to start to switch that and to really understand that nothing anyone does
mm,
is ever because of you. People don't operate out in the world because of something that you did. Now, you might trigger something in them,
mm-hmm,
but you just being the way that you are does not cause someone to hate you, or it does not cause someone to not love you
mm.
or
That's
to
so
cheat
true.
on you, right? Anything that someone does is because of their own internal wounding, because of their internal, the traumas that they've experienced from their childhood
Mhm.
on up to adulthood, right? That has shaped the way that they see the world, the way they see themselves. And you might have just been a mirror for that, for them, where they see this and then they respond to it, and not in a favorable way, but they're not responding to you, they're responding to their own internal ickiness, their
Ah,
discomfort. They're trying to do something to alleviate that discomfort. I mean, we all of us do this. All of us do this, which is why it's important to do our own work around this stuff.
that's so true. Self-blame. Oh my
Hmm.
God. Like when you're talking like that, I've been like back in my mind trying to think, archiving, the memory. And it's so true what you're saying, Jen, because we often blame ourselves, and I'm sure I'm
Hmm.
not only alone in this. So many women and girls as well. We often blame on ourselves
Hmm.
for things that we shouldn't be blaming ourselves. And if somebody call us, oh, you're ugly, you're not worthy of us, the way they behaving toward us, that's
Hmm.
mean we are not valued, nobody's gonna love me.
Right.
That will stick in our heads, because I remember when I was engaged, there was a guy who was like telling me, oh, you're not good enough for me.
Mm.
So, and especially there is some guy that is like using me, they use me emotionally and mentally. It's so exhausting. And I'm 100% for sure that women, they go through this as well. Some women, and girls, young girls, and that is stuck in our brain. It's like we feel that we're not good enough. We feel we try to build that wall or shield in
Yeah.
our heart to allow anybody to enter, to give ourselves the space
Hmm.
to to love and find love and even attract love, is because of the experience. You absolutely spot on. Like you hit a core hard. Like we went so fast down there, but I'm sure the listener one that would like to hear your stories, how you had or how did you awaken your inner special? Because I know through our conversation, you said you had a lot of challenges in dating
Hmm.
as well, isn't it? And it just got it with the point that is it, it just seems like it's impossible. So how did you awaken your inner spirituality to work from inside, to connect, to like zoom in and just be in the right thing. And that, how is that help you attract the right partner?
Yeah. So I was very frustrated with what was happening, and I was probably around 32, 33 at this point. Thinking that this was just not in the cards for me, that this was never going to happen. And I was on my second, um, I was engaged twice. So right after the second guy broke off the engagement, the people that I met after that only wanted a casual relationship. Like I couldn't even find anyone that actually wanted a real relationship with me. And I was just like, what in the world is happening? But the thing is like I was choosing these guys too. I let them stay in my life. I let them hang around thinking that, well, they'll just be a nice diversion until I find someone better. But
Mm-hmm.
the problem is I was falling for these guys. Like they had a piece of my heart.
Mm,
right? So what I was doing was playing out the same patterns that I've been playing out in my life. Nearly everyone that I had dated
mm,
at first was very standoff, like they put out a wall in front where it was like they were not fully in. They weren't fully
mm,
sure that they wanted to date me. They weren't, responding to texts and calls.
mm,
They just weren't being very communicative. They weren't showing me that they really wanted, to date me. And so I would, bottom line is I was still choosing them. Like the more that they pushed me away, like the more attractive they were to me. And so at some point I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me?
oh
Why
no.
are these guys so attractive to me?
Mm,
So I had a friend at work, suggest like, well, maybe you should go see a therapist. And I got so mad at him. I'm just like, no, I've done all this work on myself. I've come from, an abuse, abuse in my background. I've done a lot of this work. I don't need to see a therapist because to me,
mm,
that was admitting that I was weak, right? It was admitting that I wasn't strong enough to handle this on my own. I wasn't smart enough
mm,
to figure it out.
mm,
Ah, I wish I could go back and tell that version of me that you're thinking about it all wrong. Like it actually would have been a good thing for me to do. Um,
mm,
because it turns out the root of what was causing my problem was something a therapist probably could have helped me with. Coaching wasn't really a big thing back then. This was
mm.
probably what, 2010, 2011. So this was like before the big boom where everyone decided they wanted to become a coach kind of thing. Um, so I didn't want to go the traditional route of therapy. And then a friend suggested to me, she's like, hey, I have a number for a psychic medium. She's really good. She
Mm,
might be able to help you. And I wasn't really someone that believed in it
mhm,
much at that point in time. This was really before I started pursuing healing modalities. But
mhm,
I was like, well, it can't hurt, you know, let's go see her. And she didn't really tell me anything that was significant, but she did give me a book to read. She told me, go
mm,
get this book. You need to read this. And it was a book on basically manifesting, how manifestation works.
oh, manifestation.
Yeah, but it wasn't written in a way that was like explaining it so much. It was written from a case example kind of thing. Like the
Mm,
guy who wrote it put together like a bunch of case studies and he interviewed the people
mm,
and he pointed out some of the spiritual principles and stuff and I'm like, okay, well maybe I have been thinking about this the wrong way. I have been, giving my power away and thinking that what I want doesn't exist. I've never tried sitting down and actually thinking about what I do want.
mhm,
I've never gotten really clear on that. I haven't tried embodying all of those feelings and trying to bring what I want into the world. So I did that. I got super clear on what it was that I wanted. And I sat down every day and I manifested according to the way the book was written. And within 3 months,
mhm.
I was introduced to the man that is now my husband.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And the other part that goes along with that is you have to get out of your comfort zone. You have to, I know people, that may be an overused term, but if what I wanted was not already in that comfort zone, I wasn't going to find it there, right? Or I would have already found it.
Mm,
So that means I have to do different things in order to get different things into my
mm.
life. So I basically made a pact that I was going to say yes to things that I would normally say no to and see where it took me.
Wow.
Yeah. So I signed up for a charity bike ride um, by myself, which I normally wouldn't have done by myself. And this lady walks up to me and just starts up a conversation. I'm a huge introvert. I normally would have tried to get out of that and not like keep talking to her. I would have been nice, but I wouldn't have like kept, inviting that. I know.
Manifestation, attraction.
Yep. And so something told me, keep talking to this lady. She invited me to ride with her and her neighbor. I normally would have been like, I'm just kind of a loner. But I did. I rode with them. And during the course of the ride, she's like, I have someone I want to introduce you to. And, she told me about him. And she's like, would you be interested in meeting him? And normally I would have been like, no, because those things never work, right? And it's awkward. What if I don't like him? Then my new friend's not gonna like
Mm,
me. And, um, yeah, so I was like, yeah, okay, sure. And so after the ride, she gave me her number and she invited me to one of her parties and I went to the party and the guy wasn't he was not in town, so he wasn't at the party, but she did set up like a dinner date
mm.
not too long after that, and I met him. And I really wish I could tell you that it was love at first sight, but it was not. I almost friend zoned him. I wasn't attracted to him. I was like, yeah, he's a nice guy and all. It's not that he's ugly or anything, but there just wasn't that spark. And the problem was I wasn't recognizing him. So I was like, what is going on? I compared him to the list that I made
Mm.
of all the things I wanted, and like he checks all the boxes. Like, what is my problem? So again, this is where we have to kind of turn inward and be like, what am I expecting here? Like, he's not like any of the other guys.
Mm,
He's exactly what I've said I wanted.
mhm,
Here I am pushing it away. So I decided I was going to give him a chance, like a real chance.
mhm,
And about as soon as I realized I was going to do that and I set that in motion, it's like this energy was released. Like I could see him. I could see the things that I wasn't able to see before. And an attraction to him finally did develop. And then the
Oh.
rest was history. So this is why I feel it's important that if you have a habit of meeting like good guys, but not being attracted to them,
Mm,
there's something for you there. There's something for you to look into. And I wish I'd had someone to work with at the time to
mm,
help me really to get to the heart of it. Like I wasn't able to understand the whole pattern until much later, until after I became a coach and I went back and I examined things and I can be like, oh, that's why I was feeling this way. This is why this was happening. I
uh-huh.
wasn't at that level at that time. I just knew that if I want something different, I have to choose something different. And luckily for me, there were enough things with about him in that relationship that were exciting and attractive enough that it kind of pulled me out of that old energy and into this new. So that is what
Wow.
I help people do. Honestly, I help them to see their pattern, why they have it,
Mm-hmm.
why, how it's causing their current results. And then I work with them to shift it to something that they want. Once you have that awareness, then you can be like, okay, well, what do I want? How do I want to feel here? What do I want to choose
Mm-hmm.
going forward? And when
Wow.
you can start to release that old pattern and step into your new pattern, then you will make better choices. It's not that you're not attracting good people, you're just not choosing them.
Wow. So there is an element, hesitance element in there. People like hesitance. God, how many times I've been hesitant. Like if you speaking, I feel like you're digging into our core life because I know young women, I know my
Mhm.
friends, they go through similar things, because of the energy. And funny enough, my friend, she don't even know. She's not a coach. She don't even know. But she tuned into her energy. She told me about, but at the time I didn't believe it. And she attracted the right person for
Mhm.
her. And now she's married and had a baby. Like when you see it that way,
Yeah.
it's kind of like it's so positive, you know. But most of people, Jen, they will say, what if they have that question? What if, even when they tune into energy and they found the person they can connect with, speak with, be comfortable, but they always have that question in their head, right? What if, what if this person turn out to be, you know, someone that, you know, bad, or someone like my ex, or someone abusive, or someone who don't care? What if? They always have that question. So how did you navigate through that yourself, and how you help women navigate through that?
Yeah. So when you give your heart to someone, there is always a risk, isn't there?
Oh
There's
yeah.
there's always going to be
Huge.
risk. Risk is going to be a part of your relationship from the beginning to the end, however, whatever kind of end that is.
Mm,
So then the question becomes, how do we get better at accepting risk and dealing with the risk?
mm,
Right.
mm,
The only way that you can do that is
mhm,
if you know in your heart who you are, what you are, and 100% believe it, right? When you can't truly be devastated by somebody,
mm,
like, some you could marry the best person in the world and they could, develop cancer, right? And pass away.
mm,
We're always going to have to deal with the loss at some point, aren't we?
mm.
So then it
That's true.
becomes, it becomes learn how to deal with grief in a
Mm,
positive way. But what people end up doing is they pile on top of that grief all of the projections, right? All of the things they make that mean where if that person cheated on you, or if that person, was mean to you, or was a narcissist, or whatever it is. Like, the reason why grief can be so debilitating
mhm,
is because we are shaming ourselves at some level too. So when you
mm,
take away that shame, and then you can just deal with the grief, it's a lot lighter.
mm,
There's that component.
mm,
And you also have your nervous system component.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of us spend some, a lot of time off center, right? Where we'll either spend a lot of time in a depressive state or we'll spend a lot of time in an anxious state.
Mm-hmm.
Learning how to bring yourself back to center
Mm-hmm.
and live more in the present instead of in the past or the future is also going to be a big help with that.
And
Does
how
that make
come people shift? How come people help? How can using or awakening the spiritual
sense?
heal people to shift, to have that shift in their lives and accept what they, like you say, the loss and the grief and all that. So how people can do that?
Yeah. The biggest thing that when you have a spiritual awakening, it basically means that you have become more connected to a higher power, right?
Mm,
You're more connected to your version of source, spirit, and you're also more connected to your soul or your higher self. So you become more connected to wisdom. And it gives you this 50,000-foot view. Like, if you're up in a helicopter and you're looking down, you can see a lot of the land, right? You can
mm,
see in all directions versus being on the ground, you have a limited view.
mm,
So when you are able to connect up and maintain that connection and live from that connection, then there's nothing that can actually hurt you. Then you know that whatever just transpired with this relationship,
mm.
there was something there either for me to learn from it, or maybe the other person was to learn something from it. Like
Mhm,
there was some kind of transaction that happened, and it
mm,
was for the greater good of probably both participants. And so when you can start to live that way of, instead of why is this happening to me,
mhm,
living from why is this happening, or this is happening for me. Now, what am I supposed to learn from it?
mm.
Right? Where if you
Yeah.
view everything as something that has something for you to learn, something for you to grow from, like your capacity to handle the
Mhm.
shit is going to grow exponentially, and you will become more and more comfortable or able to tolerate grief at a higher level.
Wow. Wow. Wow, that was heavy. That was heavy. Woo, woo, that was heavy. Women who's gonna listen to this, oh my God, they're gonna use it. I'm gonna use it myself. I'm gonna use it myself, to be honest, because I'm in age now. I think it's better for me to start attracting the best, the right person and navigate and shift and have that mindset. Would you agree that it's also contain or the shift in a mindset as well? Because when somebody they need to shift their mindset to be able to work from inner out.
Yes, absolutely. It's that shift of seeing the how, basically to know that the circumstances out here in the world are not what is creating what's going on inside,
Mm,
right? It can affect us
mm-hmm,
only if we let it, right? Where if you're only reacting from things in your environment, then you are living in a disempowered state. when you are living in an empowered creative state, you get this right in here first. You look at what is blocking you from being able to see clearly, which could be some stuff in your childhood. You know, my
Mhm.
parents were emotionally unavailable. There was a certain energy of that relationship that I was looking for in my romantic relationships. And that's what was so attractive. That's why I was choosing these things because it was familiar. It put me back in that familiar pattern of having to work for love, of having to prove myself first, right? I was
Mhm.
looking for the validation. Like if I could win over these guys that only wanted a casual relationship, like how special would I be, right? Wouldn't that prove that I was special if they would choose me out of everyone else?
Oh, yeah.
This was the subconscious programming that I was operating from, and that's why these guys were so attractive to me.
Mhm.
I was literally trying to get that validation. I was trying to get them to prove to me that I'm special.
Which is that end up harming you,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Instead of coming to terms with and understanding
Uh-huh.
my own specialness,
Oh,
I was putting that on someone else, right?
that's that is beautiful. That is beautiful, well said. So basically, you're saying we've got to understand our own
Mhm.
self-worth, self-value, whatever we want from others, we give it to ourselves first and we tune into that energy to be able to attract the right person.
Yes, absolutely.
Beautiful. That's absolutely amazing. Women out there, oh my God, if you listen to this, please, 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 wherever you hear today, please go and make it impact because I am going to. I am going to. So, Jane, what advice would you give to young women or young girls, or even old women, older as well, who's going through that dating journey and they're like in a messy thing? They are like, they don't know what to do. What advice would you give them to help them attracting the right people?
So, first of all, don't give up. Like, don't give up. What you want is out there. Like, I'm telling you, even though you haven't seen it yet, or you might have, and you might have rejected it, but that's a different story. Know that it is out there. Okay. The second thing that I would encourage you to do is take a look at all of the past relationships that you've had and see if you can find a common thread there. Because usually we have a pattern. It's not always easy to see, which is
Mm,
why having someone to kind of like help you see that
mhm.
can be super. It's like the fast track to healing. Like if you're trying to do this on your own, you can, but I'm going to tell you, it's going to take you a lot longer. Like if you want to get this done, like now and possibly be, bringing in your dream partner within the year, like get help, get some help. Just seeing the pattern can be so healing, let me tell you. Because I didn't do any special stuff at the beginning. I just started to have awareness that I was the one creating my own results. And I started to own that. And it's like, okay, well, if I'm creating that, what can I do to start creating something different? So it's all, you got to shift that energy from the outside to inside, right?
Wow. Wow.
So having an idea of what your pattern is and why. So you want to
Mm,
go back to the relationship with your parents, and if you can kind of get the undertone of the energy of that relationship with them, it's probably going to be a similar match to what's been going on in your romantic relationships. So then it becomes why? What can I do to shift out of that and heal that in order to be able to pick a better partner? And so then becomes the process of um, coming back to yourself, of connecting to that higher power, that inner knowing. Like we all have what we need to heal ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
but sometimes we have trouble accessing it,
Mm-hmm.
which again is why you would hire a coach or work with someone that can help you to, clearly see the pattern and to access your own inner wisdom. And that's literally all I do for people. I don't give them the answers. I just help them to see, I help them put the pieces together. And then, I have some suggestions for how you can practice it out in the world so that your body needs to become accustomed to a new energetic pattern, right? Right now, it's accustomed to what was going on in the past, and any deviation from that is going to
Mm-hmm.
feel weird and therefore uncomfortable. So that's why you choose the old pattern because it's comfortable, right? So we have to work to get comfortable with a new pattern until that becomes the choice and that becomes the way that your body will tell you, right? We just have to we have to become aware of it.
Wow. Wow. You did mention you tell people like to go out there and practice it. So
Mhm.
how do you do that? If somebody say they can't, afford to get a coach or, a therapist or some, how they can practice it by themselves to be able to get to that same result or similar result to be able to attract what they want in life.
So it depends on what the original issue is. So for me, it was because I became a really fiercely independent person where I wouldn't let anybody help me. I didn't let anybody support me. I had to do it all myself. Um, that was pushing away anyone who might have offered that kind of support. It's what I wanted. Like that version of me would have said, well, I want someone that's gonna, want to help me out and support me. But yet, every time someone offered that, I pushed it away, right? So, because it was uncomfortable to receive, so many women find it uncomfortable to receive. So, you want to practice receiving and allowing it, even if it's a compliment. You practice with safe people, your friends, family, right? You let them help you. Maybe even work up to letting a stranger help you until you become more comfortable with that. So you don't push it away when it happens. That's an example.
Wow. Wow. Practicing receiving. Well, not many people are aware of that and how powerful that is, like you be open to receive and you're well aware of it, of the emotion. Because most of people like say, I want that, but when they get it, they push it away.
Yes.
Practicing receiving, that is absolutely amazing. That is absolutely great, Jen. So if people or women want to communicate with you, get your advice, your wisdom, where would they find you?
So my website was probably the easiest place to find me. That's at jenyoungquist.com, JenYoungQuist.com. Make sure, because whenever you put a G and a Q together, people just they lose their minds. I don't know why, but make sure there's a G and the Q there.
Mm.
Um, So I'm going to be hosting a 3-day workshop coming up on October 10th. And we're going to do the first part of what we talked about, which is getting very clear on what it is that you want. So we're going to take 3 days to understand our own energy and our body language and how that might be pushing people away.
Oh, wow.
We're going to be understanding the 3 categories of things that you need to be clear on, which I call your tangibles, which are the physical things, your intangibles, which are how, the intrinsics that you want someone to have, like how they treat you, how you want to feel, that kind of stuff. And also getting very clear on your values, because if you can't rattle off your top 5 values, like that's a problem because your partner, the future partner, should share those. You,
Definitely.
yes. So
Definitely.
we're going to get clear on all that. Day 3, we're going to actually practice manifesting it because I can sit here and tell you how to do it, but until you've actually walked through it, you might not really fully understand it or do it on your own. So, on the day 4, or day 3, we're gonna walk through actually manifesting, and anyone that signs up is going to get an opportunity to download the meditation that I'm going to record for them to do that. So, I will have that link on my website for anyone that wants to sign up for that. It's a free workshop. There'll be a replay page, so you'll be able to catch up if you miss any of them.
Wow. Count me in. Can I be in? Can I be?
Absolutely.
Can I be the first comers? Can
Yep,
I?
I'll
Oh
send you
my!
the link.
I need that. I need that in my life. Did I need that? Well, I hope we're gonna have, Gina's gonna give me all her detail, contact detail, all the detail of the workshop, of course. And I'm gonna put it on my social media. And please, if you hear this, here I've had advice, Gina advice. She shared amazing advice. Like nobody told me this, like 31 years, nobody told me this. And today, Jen shared a dime. So please, if you hear this, and I hope Jen to what she shared today inspire you to and to take her wisdom, her words, and go and implement it and make a change in your life to be able to attract the right people. It doesn't have to be romantically, but the right people, friends, colleagues,
Yes.
husbands, future husbands. That's what I'm going to.
Yep. Yep. It works for all relationships because it's all basically the same.
Exactly. It's all the same. So I'm going to leave everything in a description. If you want to, communicate, please, I'm urging you, communicate with Jen, and use her free shop. It's free. It's absolutely for free. So I'll leave everything in the description. Thank you so much, Jen. It's been absolutely a pleasure. And thank you for accepting to be in here and sharing your wisdom, your story, your advice with the listener. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Helena.
Thank you. Is there any last words you want to share it with this amazing lady who's gonna listen to you?
Um, just basically don't give up. I see far too many women saying like, I don't want a man child. I don't want someone coming in and, that I have to, wants to control me and those kinds of things. But I want you to know that there are people out there that will be a complement to your life and will not complicate your life. So if you want it, it is available to you.
That is absolutely amazing. So until I see you next time, or until I, talk to you next time, bye bye.